Swamiti namine namaste saraswate deve gauravani pracharine nirvishesha sunyavadi paschatya desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And last but not least, prema, the goal. We've been hearing these terms. Sadhana leads to sadhya, leads to a goal. The goal is this prema bhakti. And as bhava bhakti is rarely achieved, prema bhakti is more rarely achieved, but achievable for anyone. Fulfillment of the heart's desire. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Krishna prema is, we mentioned, it's already within. Nitya Siddha, Krishna prema, sadhya, kabunoi, shravanadi shuddha chitte karayeva. So we're hearing details about the shravanadi, shravana, etc., beginning with shravana, and the other 8 processes of bhakti leading to this prema bhakti. So there's our diagram, and here's the diagram showing these 3, the clusters of buds, then the clusters of flowers, and then the full-blown flower of prema bhakti. And surrounding the prema bhakti are the petals, and the petals are Shanta, Dasha, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And on the left side are the 2 characteristics that are exclusive to prema bhakti. Maybe not easy to read, but we'll see them shortly. Next slide. Prema bhakti is imbued with a condensed superlative pleasure. And this prema bhakti alone has the capacity to attract Krishna. Not that Krishna isn't attracted prior to that. Krishna is kind to all of his devotees, but he is particularly attracted to prema bhakti. So here's one of the 2. Prema gives incalculable bliss, Sandrananda, and the other characteristic is it's the only means for attracting Krishna. Krishnaksharini, Krishnaksharshini. Here's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, several verses for each of these 2. Rupa Goswami is giving the terms and defining the terms. Bhakti is composed of a special condensed bliss. And he quotes, the bliss of Brahman realization accumulated by some samadhi lasting for half of Brahma's life cannot compare to 1 drop of the ocean of happiness of bhakti. That's pretty strong. So half of Brahma's life. It's a long time. Samadhi, lasting for half of the lifetime of Brahma. The happiness of Brahman realization, if one could achieve that. And the very next verse, he cites Hari Bhakti Sododaya, addressing Krishna, O Guru of the universe, on seeing you directly, I am situated in a pure ocean of bliss. All the happiness of impersonal Brahman is as insignificant as the water in the hoofprint of a cow. We've heard this verse many times. The bliss of Brahman is compared to insignificant, like the water in the hoofprint of a cow or a calf compared to an ocean. Just seeing Krishna directly, and this stage of bhakti makes it possible to see Krishna directly. Krishna may show himself. He doesn't have to, but he may show himself to such a devotee, a prema bhakta. And one more verse. This is citing Sridhar Swami's commentary, Bhavarta Deepika, a celebrated commentary on the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And the particular chapter is Lord Shiva saved from Vrikasura. And he's commenting after Vrikasura, who was a demon, wanted from Lord Shiva a benediction. Whoever's head he touched, his head would crack many times. So then he was invited to test his testing on himself, because he was chasing after Shiva, who was anyway. Some persons approach demigods for small things. Some fortunate people play in the sweet ocean of your topics and enjoy the greatest bliss. They consider the happiness from Artha, Dharma, Kama, and Moksha to be as insignificant as grass. So there are different ways of belittling the position of the happiness of liberation, but a drop, or anyway, it's nothing. Liberation, this achieving moksha is nothing, insignificant compared to the happiness of Krishna prema. Then the means of attracting Krishna, there's 3 verses. These are all in sequence. Bhakti is called Sri Krishna Karshini because it makes the Lord addicted to prema and brings him under control along with his associates. It should be with a capital H. Brings Krishna under control. Now, who can control Krishna? Devotees don't want to control Krishna. They want to serve Krishna. It means there's an intense service mood reciprocated with an intense submission of Krishna to the devotee. So Krishna does what the devotees want because of their love for him. Then nice long explanation from the commentary. As long as pure bhakti does not arise during sadhana, one performs actions with bhaktyabhas, or shadow of bhakti. If pure bhakti does not arise, so that's all of us. We're in the shadow space. In that condition, bhakti is hard to attain, pure bhakti. When pure bhakti arises during sadhana, the actions of bhakti take on beauty. Realization of the jiva's siddha swarup and the Lord's siddha swarup become prominent among the various beauties. In that bhakti, great attachment with longing, asakti, arises. When that state of practice arrives, pure sadhana bhakti transforms into rati, or bhava bhakti, and finally prema. In bhava condition, the bhakti attracts Krishna with his associates, but in prema, bhakti makes the devotee enjoy the highest rasa as a participant in Krishna's pastimes. Is it true? Well, it's certainly not fiction. So obviously it's quite rare, rarely achieved. Another verse, the next verse, from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1142. There's a reference here to Uddhava Gita, chapter 14. My dear Uddhava, Krishna says, the unalloyed devotional service in the form of prema bhakti rendered to me by my devotees brings me under their control. Those engaged in mystic yoga, Sankhya philosophy, pious work, Vedic study, austerity, or renunciation cannot thus control me to this extent. Same, just a scriptural reference indicating the stage of prema bhakti that Rupa Goswami has captured in his descriptions. Jiva Goswami makes a comment on this verse. It cannot be that sadhana brings Krishna under control because of the statement in the previous verse, only prema bhakti. So it's not sadhana bhakti, it's prema bhakti. Only by the sadhya bhakti, sadhya same as the goal. Thus, the meaning is bhakti only after achieving sadhya bhakti or prema controls me. Just adding some clarification, that's all. Jiva Goswami. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes reference to a particular verse or word in the verse spoken by Krishna. Urjita means very strong and intense because of not being covered by jnana or karma. So we heard, this is the fourth time actually, that the intensity of sadhana makes all the difference in achieving higher state. Laxity versus intensity of effort. And then once that effort is matured, then it's no longer effort, it's spontaneous. And the spontaneous urge has become very strong and intense because the coverings are removed. The modes of nature or material enjoying tendency, jnana and karma, gone. Now, jnana and karma rule material life. Karma rules, and amongst those who are karmis, some Manushanam Sahasreshu Kaschit, so that some are inquiring into transcendence. Rare. But even beyond rare is this stage of prema bhakti. So, citing, because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Madhurya Kadambini is describing the characteristics or qualities of prema. Prema takes all material emotions and transforms material emotions into spiritual emotions. So powerful. It has the power to attract Krishna. Their sense of self-centeredness is gone. It's Krishna-centeredness. Krishna, Trishna, as we've been saying. There's an eagerness, especially when Krishna by his own will may not be visible, then one goes mad to get Krishna's darshan. Here's the same terminology that we heard already, so we're spending a little bit of time on it again. Sporti. Sporti is Krishna reveals, or the devotee has a spike or a particularly intense concentration upon Krishna. And this definition of sporti is from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Krishna's form may suddenly appear as one is concentrating intently on Krishna. Krishna's form may suddenly appear, or his pastimes may suddenly appear, and we're going to hear more about his sweetness, because that could mean lots of things. But at least in the language of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he's going to help us understand what Krishna's sweetness means. There's a sweetness about his form, a sweetness about his pastimes, and we'll hear his description of sweetness. So, according to this chapter of Madhurya Kadambini, Krishna reveals himself in sequence, starting with his beauty, meaning his form, and his voice, then his fragrance. And it says, like, beautiful description, as the fragrance of Krishna enters one's nostrils, one goes mad. And then Krishna's touch, and one goes mad. And Krishna's taste, one goes mad. Krishna's generosity, and there's 7 in number. Krishna's compassion. He says and does things that one is just astonished by. And then subjectively, there's the experience of those 7. And they experience in terms of rasa. We discussed what rasa. The Supreme Lord, for those in the position of servitude, he may place his lotus feet on their head. That's pretty ecstatic. And friendship, he grasps their hands. Let's do this. Can you think of some example where Krishna places his foot on the head of his devotee, the servant? Some example? Kaliya. Very good. What's another one besides Kaliya? Bali? You know the story of Bali Maharaj? Yeah? Nice story, isn't it? So the mood of service, he reciprocates according to the mood of the worshipper or the lover, his beloved. And he grasps their hands. Example? Sudama, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma. The Lord Brahma example is in Canto 2, Chapter 9, Brahma does tapasya for 100 celestial years. It's darkness in all directions, and he goes anyways and just does tapasya, chanting of his mantra, which was his main tapasya, and must have gotten hungry. He had nothing to eat for 100 years. That's a kind of tapasya. And then Lord Vishnu appeared. And when he appeared with his whole entourage and all of his associates and all of his energies, and they're listed, they're identified, and Lord Vishnu stands and steps towards Brahma and extends his hand and shakes his hand. Now, it's not that all Brahmas have that relationship, but this particular Brahma mentioned has that relationship of friendship. Parental affection. When one has parental affection towards Krishna, they may weep. Of course, the parents may wipe away Krishna's tears, but Krishna may wipe away their tears with his hand. And he embraces those with conjugal affection. So that's Krishna's prema exhibition towards his devotee, and then the devotees feel something too. As we've been repeating, there's a reciprocation. And then when Krishna does each one, so this is listing number 1, that's Krishna extends himself to the devotee. And then, according to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur's description, commonly the devotee will faint. And those with conjugal rasa, they taste Krishna's lips. They faint again. And Krishna gives his audarya, or generosity, providing all revelations simultaneously. One faints again. Craving for Krishna increases. Internal conflict, and it moves in waves. The devotee is losing it. All the senses get the power to perform activities of all other senses. That's what Krishna can do. And then the devotees can do the same. They get lifted to Krishna's empowered position. And all of this defies mundane logic. So that was 7 revelations of Krishna to his devotee who has achieved prema bhakti. This is all very elevated. Krishna then manifests another revelation, and that is compassion, or the language used primarily by Vishwanath, in this case, is Kripa Shakti. So Krishna has many, many, many Shaktis, Sarva Shakti, all potencies. But he specifically exhibits his Kripa Shakti, which then shows yet another Shakti. It's just like layers of Shaktis. And here's, according to Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, 8 petals of this Kripa Shakti. And these are names that are found in the Bhagavatam as well. These are names of Krishna's internal potencies. You can find them in the Bhagavatam. I didn't cut and paste, but they're in the Bhagavatam. Internal potencies have different features or aspects. They're under the general heading of Kripa Shakti, or internal potency, Swarup Shakti. And here's some of them. Next, he writes, Kripa Shakti appears in different forms. There's these 8 petals. Kripa Shakti appears in different forms. By Krishna's Kripa Shakti, the Lord's all-pervading free will, or Icha Shakti, influences the heart of the devotee, causing great astonishment. I mean, it's already astonishing, but it's just like a crescendo. And then more and more and more and more. And then Kripa Shakti invites yet another aspect of Krishna, his Bhaktavatsala. Bhaktavatsala. Vatsalya is a great superlative kindness to his devotee. So this Bhaktavatsala rules over all the Lord's auspicious spiritual qualities. So he then goes into describing what does this Bhaktavatsala indicate. His affection for his devotees rules over all of Krishna's other qualities, meaning it's like the king, and then the king has subordinates. So whatever the subordinates do are to follow the king, to assist the king. So different things at different times. Because I've just spent substantial time discussing this with our Chinese devotees. When Krishna meets with Sudama, the mood is prominent in a certain way, and then it shifts, and then it's prominent in another way, and then it shifts, then it becomes prominent in another way. It's very fluid. But it's the Bhakta Vatsalya feature that rules or predominates over the other qualities, and with qualities, stimulations of ecstatic love from the side of the devotees. And so their experience is also quite fluid. But the center is always the same, this love for Krishna. Even contrary qualities become manifest in the Lord and consequently also in the devotee. The devotee becomes bewildered. And Krishna says, as he says to Uddhava, he says, I am conquered by you. Now, remember that this phrase that we were speaking about, we'll do it again, 5th time, mamata. Mamata means mine, or possessiveness, or the sense of identity. In addition to identity as the body, identity of that which is mine. So when Krishna is mine, Krishna says, I am yours. He says to the devotee, I'm conquered by you. Conquered by the love of his devotee. And then, conquered by the love of his devotee, Krishna starts revealing more and more according to this chapter. He reveals Vrindavan. And in addition to revealing Vrindavan, he reveals the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan, particularly Radha and her associates. So this is just like a nice devotee. But all these things are being bestowed upon him. And they're going mad. The center doesn't change, but what Krishna is reciprocating with the devotee is very fluid. Radha and her associates. And Krishna and Krishna's friends and Krishna's cows, the river Jamuna, the whole of the spiritual world, as we heard that happened with Lord Brahma, when Lord Vishnu came before him. Here's the devotee that's on this prema bhakti stage, and everything is being revealed. He just didn't go anywhere, didn't go on a yatra to Vrindavan. It's just being manifest in his heart. Very amazing. And all the relatives and servants, the whole, not just Krishna and Krishna's form, but all these other features that's Krishna's abode and Krishna's devotees. Everything becomes revealed to this devotee. And that's not enough. Here comes this Rupa Goswami terminology. The heart melts on beholding Krishna, or sneha. Mana, one wants to hide one's feelings of intense affection by any means, even crooked means. Hide that affection. Pranaya, like prana. So pranaya, one's life, body, mind, and intelligence all practically become one with Krishna's. There's still two, but the separation becomes practically invisible. Raga, most intense feelings associating with Krishna at any cost. Madness. Now that's a very advanced stage, but that's the advanced devotees may have that experience. Anuraga, even after association, one feels his enjoyment has not been fulfilled. So don't go there, because you won't feel fulfilled. These stages are not experienced in a material body, which means there's a spiritual form. And through the medium of spiritual senses and spiritual body, the association with Krishna is like that. So it's totally unimaginable, and so it's being described by those that have that experience. We can only hear, can't really imagine. We can only hear and try to appreciate. Other aspects of prema. So we're going into this chart again. The spiritualization is intense. There's a nice Sanskrit phrase that goes with it. All material aspects, before it was a hollow shell or shadow, and now it's completely absent. Meditation, in contrast to seeing, one has direct association. Whew. And how does a devotee respond when all of this happens? They wonder, maybe this was just a dream. They roll on the ground and faint. They see Krishna everywhere. And then, suddenly Krishna disappears. And that's the goal of Krishna consciousness, love and separation. It doesn't get higher than that. Who wants love and separation? No thanks. We want love and meeting, please. But even higher than that is the intensification of love when there's separation. Now here's our magic chart. Again, I think this is the corrected version. We're almost done. So let's look at the prema category at the very, very bottom. The spiritual aspect is intense. Material aspect is completely absent. And meditation is direct association. The previous stage is seeing, and here it's direct association, unmistakably. Whew. Very high. And some devotees, like our 6 Goswamis, for example, and others, they live in that realm. And as they live in that realm, they write literature. And some of the literature is just explaining things for us. And some of the literature is describing the pastimes that have been revealed to them. And then explaining the pastimes that have been revealed to them. They're very exceptional persons. This description Prabhupada gives is sometimes the Uttama Adhikari will descend to the Madhyama position to give teachings. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that by giving teachings to Rupa and Sanatan and others and asked them to write books. A very nice example, for me at least, is two nice examples that come to mind. One was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Many of you know the history. Bhaktisiddhanta was visiting his father in Puri at some point in time, and his father had purchased a little plot of land. Later, a building was put on, and it was very near the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. He wanted to be close to Haridas Thakur, and there in that bhajan kutir, he wrote many books. It was like the concluding portion of his life. More volumes of literature were provided or presented than any other time, because the earlier time he was very busy being what he was, a family man and chief magistrate and so many other things. So he wanted to be near the bhajan kutir of Haridas Thakur, not bhajan kutir, the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. So he created a bhajan kutir for himself and was meditating on such an exalted devotee and writing books and so on. Right next to where the samadhi of Haridas Thakur was, there was a bhajan kutir of a very celebrated Babaji. The celebrated Babaji had a lot of followers. And the celebrated Babaji had a couple of significant deviations, too. And when Bhaktisiddhanta visited his father and came to know what this Babaji was doing, he confronted him, because that's Bhaktisiddhanta, the Shringa Guru. Why are you doing this? The two things were, he had created a mantra that wasn't the Hare Krishna mantra right next to the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. And not only he invented a mantra, but the mantra, according to Bhaktisiddhanta, was rasabhas. It was a conflict of rasas. Is that a child or someone's asking something? Child, okay. So, the second deviation that he confronted him was even more serious, and that was he had a practice that was known at the time as called Saki Beki. His principal disciple, he dressed as a gopi or Saki, and he was saying that he's now in training to become a gopi just by dressing as a gopi. Saki Beki. So he Bhaktisiddhanta didn't remain silent about it. He confronted him. And it created a big uproar because this Babaji had a big following, and here's this young fellow confronting our celebrated Babaji. So it made it such an uproar that Bhakti Vinod Thakur suggested, I think it's a good idea if you just go to Mayapur and chant Hare Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta, following the instruction of his father, he went to Navadvip. First he went to the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for some years, and then he built a little cottage, a little grass cottage, at the house of Chandrasekhar Acharya, which later became the headquarters of the Gaudiya Math, that very location. And he took a vow that he would chant 3 billion names. 3 billion names at the rate of the same number of rounds per day as Haridas Thakur chanted. And the number of rounds that Haridas Thakur chanted was 3 times 64 rounds every day. Now, for example, sometimes we have japa retreats. And when we have japa retreats, people chant as many rounds as they like, but we encourage, try to chant 64 rounds today for one day. Very focused. 3 times 64 is not, for most of us, it's just not physically possible. Do the math. Some of us chant 16 rounds in 2 hours, and that's a good clip. Some of us chant longer than 2 hours. But if you chanted 16 rounds in 2 hours, times 4, 4 times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24. Every day for, what was the number of years? 8 years? 8 to 10 years, I forget the number of years, to complete that brata. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, to complete that brata. Bhaktisiddhanta demonstrated that he was beyond normal human capacity. He was certainly beyond the varnashram system. And after that, he accepted sannyas and wrote books and traveled and preached and, fulfilled the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very powerful way, as a great acharya. So he's way up here, as Prabhupada said, sometimes an Uttama Adhikari will come down to the Madhyama Adhikari position and preach, as Prabhupada did, or Bhaktisiddhanta did, or others may have done. Jiva Goswami is another example. How elevated are the writings of Jiva Goswami, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, etc., etc. So very high teachings, And as I discussed during the earlier portion today, pastimes that are just so wonderful. For whom? Their enjoyment, for Krishna's pleasure, their enjoyment, and for our benefit and edification just by hearing the teachings and the sweet pastimes, etc., etc., etc. So those devotees have direct association with the personality of Godhead. Seeing, more than seeing, direct association. They participate in pastimes with Krishna. Of course, according to Krishna's indication and his mercy and so forth. It's not, they dial up their digital system and Krishna does a pastime with them. It's all a very spontaneous exchange. Very elevated Vaishnavas. So we're hearing this stage of elevation. And there's a nice poster, one more time, the top part of the poster. The prema bhakti, this bhakti lata, or the creeper of bhakti, matures in this way. So that's our conclusion of Madhurya Kadambini, chapter 8. Now, at some point in time, like not here, but some point in time, I'm going to revise at least this last chapter, because I was sharing with Jai Sachidananda, everything is there, but I'm not satisfied with it. So over the Thanksgiving holiday, I'm going to go back to the very beginning in Houston, Texas, and cover Madhurya Kadambini from chapter 1 and the life of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the whole thing in one package. But so I'm going to be forwarding what I have for this chapters 6 through 8 for those of you that wanted to take pictures of everything. And so you all can see and do whatever you want to do with it. Please don't circulate it. That's my reservation in doing something like this. Because I don't know how people are going to use it or misuse it. That's my reservation. I don't normally do that, but I was like distracted by everyone putting up their camera and taking a picture of every slide. I can make a request. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's a request in any case. It's for your edification. Don't circulate it. Thank you. See if there's any discussion.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, this afternoon you mentioned in the bhava state also, one is still in pretty immature state of mind to understand the Swarupa Shakti of Krishna, which is Ladini. And
I didn't exactly say that, but keep going.
So in prema state, does the devotee have that understanding or not?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't exactly say what you said I said, but it's the beginnings of an understanding. It's approaching the Swarup Shakti of the Supreme Lord, which manifests his form. So there's the seeing of the form and some understanding of the form in the Bhava Bhakti stage. In the Prema Bhakti stage, one is directly associating with the Lord's form, directly experiencing, participating in the pastimes with the Lord. Now in a spiritual form, in one spiritual form and his spiritual form. So there's the distinction. It's preliminary, and then there's direct experience. Now, go ahead. You got the microphone.
The Ladini Shakti, I mean, mind could be wrong, is the internal potency.
Yeah, it's more than the internal potency. It's a specific aspect of
Because
the pleasure potency portion of the Lord's internal potency.
Because towards the end, what you showed, the Krishna's association, Krishna showing Radharani, devotees, Gopika, cows, that's all surreal, right? The internal potency of Krishna, Ladini Shakti,
No,
Radharani.
you're doing it again, and I'll do it again. The internal potency has different divisions. Ladini Shakti is one of the divisions of the internal potency. You're using them interchangeably, and I'm trying to correct that mistake. The Ladini Shakti is the pleasure potency portion of the Lord's internal potency. And there are different nomenclatures that go along with the Lord's internal potency. Ladini Shakti being one of them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. I'm trying to formulate what I want to say. So I'll say it and hopefully it comes out articulated.
Okay. If I don't get it, I'll let you know.
Yes, thank you. Earlier this afternoon, we had a few sides that talked about spontaneous devotion.
Yeah. Yes,
And
I remember.
we know there's Vaidhi Bhakti and
Yes.
Rag Bhakti.
Yes.
Rag Bhakti is often translated as spontaneous devotion.
Yes. Yes.
We have devotees like who have great affection and spontaneous love for Krishna. That's not in Vrindavan.
Yes.
What could you elaborate on the difference between that type of spontaneous devotion and Raghunaga Bhakti?
Nice question. Several distinctions. One of the principal distinctions is, generally speaking, I'm thinking specifically of two examples. Madhvacharya, Udupi Krishna. He has deep love for Udupi Krishna, or Krishna in Udupi. And there's no Radha. The understanding is, and there's other places where they worship a Krishna deity where there's no Shakti. Sometimes there's Satyabhama Krishna, etc., etc. But sometimes it's just Krishna. When it's just Krishna, so the distinction is where there may be some spontaneous attraction, but they're not followers of the Ragatmika Bhaktas of Vrindavan, and therefore they're not experiencing that which they have to give. But they have a spontaneous attraction for that form of Krishna, which they worship through mantra and sometimes in deity form or combination. This is a detail. My understanding, hopefully it's correct, is those that worship a deity form of Krishna without a Shakti form next to the deity form of Krishna is because they see Krishna as one of the avatars of Vishnu, and as Mahavishnu does not exhibit Ramadevi, she's within, so Krishna has Ramadevi within. So they're just not seeing and worshipping that Radha form or the Lakshmi form along with Narayana or Vishnu, as Mahavishnu has Ramadevi within. But there's acknowledgement in their mantras. It's a different form of worship than the raga of the Ragatmika Bhaktas. Specifically, the Ragatmika Bhaktas are Krishna's eternal associates in Vrindavan. Is that answering your question?
Yeah. Is there a follow-up?
Okay.
Is there a specific term that the acharyas use in Shastra for this type of...
I'm unaware. There probably is, but I'm unaware.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So in the slide, varieties of prema bhakti, I recall there's a Mahabhav. So in your list, it was not included. Is there?
Yeah, it's not included. It's not included because Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur didn't include it because he could have, but according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's exclusively experienced by Radharani. It's not where we can't access Radharani's bhavas.
Thank you.
He could have mentioned it, but he didn't, so I didn't.
These are experienced by us.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm just,
Living entities.
okay. Anything else? In the audience over here, ladies.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. It's very, very difficult topic.
Yeah.
But so easily presented. But I was just wondering what kind of bhav the gopas or Brajvasis had when they were associating with Krishna there.
What kind?
What stage were they?
What stage? Are you asking this question?
Was it asakti or it was bhava or it was prema?
Okay. The two things. One is, this was mentioned this afternoon. Snehavali asked a question. I responded by saying, when there's mention of attachment, that doesn't mean that person is at the stage of a sakti, because a sakti or attachment is a subset or included within bhava and prema.
Right.
So yes, there's attachment, but attachment that's more matured and more matured in the bhava and the prema stage. So all of these have attachment, yes, but they're eternal associates in Vrindavan. They're eternal associates of Krishna. So they have the stage of prema, which includes attachment to Krishna and ecstasies in relation to Krishna, and manifestations of prema. Then we saw that list, Rupa Goswami's list of different terminologies of sneha, etc., etc. I don't want to go into all of that, but my understanding in simple language is it's quite fluid. Sometimes something, sometimes another something, sometimes another something. And so it's a big concert, a crescendo of waves of love that sometimes move this way, sometimes move that way, given by different names according to the type of wave, and etc. The emotion, the bhava that they're experiencing within that prema, so they're given different names. But it's like the waves of a river that move. Never static, always dynamic. And sometimes. Does that address your question?
Yeah, so essentially they were at the prema level.
Yes.
And it was including everything. So depending on where they were.
Yes. And then, and one more time, there's varieties in the prema category, there are varieties of prema, the manifestation of prema that's by this name, by that name, by the other name. And they're very fluid and they keep moving, like the waves of a river, the waves of the ocean, and sometimes. And sometimes get very, 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 very intense, and sometimes it's more quiet, and sometimes it's wild. But they're all in the prema stage. Your question. those associates of Krishna in Vrindavan, they're all on the prema stage, and they're experiencing different manifestations according to their relationship with Krishna and Krishna's reciprocation with them in different ways.
Thank you, Maharaj.
We're going to bring the microphone over because for the recording purposes, we probably can hear you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. I really appreciate the Bhakti Creeper diagram. I just want to understand one because I'm noticing, so Kadambini, the cloud bank is only drawn near Asakti and Bhav. Is that, am I reading too much, or that those are the only two Madhurya being described?
Oh, you're seeing a cloud up towards the top? That's what you're
Yeah.
commenting? I don't know why the cloud is there. My only understanding is just it's an artist's way of depicting the earthiness down at the bottom. There's roots, and where the creeper grows, where there's roots, and then there's the flower. There's the leaves, and that's above the surface of the earth. And the color changes, and now we're going into the sky, which is blue, and now we're into the spiritual world, whereas the clouds of the spiritual world and the clusters of buds, etc. I don't think it has anything to do with the statements of Madhurya Kadambini. It has something to do with an artist's inspiration of how to portray the thing with different colors, so it's nice. Oh boy, all the way in the back. Did you get a copy of the poster? Digital. Okay, good. It's very nice. Very, very thoughtful. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So, my question is, from this Bhakti Creeper, it is clear that one with a pure devotional faith, we have to do our sadhana to develop up to the stage of prema, to become a personal associate. And you also mentioned that the moksha lagutakrit, desire for liberation, that goes away, firmly establishes at the stage of bhava, right? So,
well, wait a minute. What you said is not what I said. You said it slowly goes away. The aspiration for attaining something that I don't already have slowly goes away because one will have it. And the aspiration will slowly go away. But it's not liberation slowly goes away. So liberation is progressively attained beyond the aspiration for attaining liberation. I'm just editing.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, my question is, so there is this Bhagavad Gita verse, Antakale cha mameva.
Speak slowly. There's a what?
Bhagavad Gita verse, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevram, where Krishna is saying that if you remember me at the time of death, then you achieve me. Achieve his state. So, a lot of time we hear this from devotees that the goal of life is to remember Krishna at the time of leaving the body, etc., etc. So, if the desire for liberation, it takes up to the stage of bhava to go. So, how do we prevent ourselves from falling into the trap of, I don't even know whether that's real.
Your question has several parts, as far as I can hear. There's, Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is for everybody, not only those that want to attain prema bhakti. Bhagavad Gita is for everybody. So part of everybody is people that don't want to take birth again. And so for those that don't want to take birth again, then there's the verse that you referred to. Remember Krishna, at the time of death, you don't take birth again. That's nice. So let me go for that, because I want liberation. I don't want to take birth again. Thank you. So then there's some other persons that have gone beyond that aspiration, and they look at that aspiration as being insignificant. So if that's insignificant, what's significant? What's significant, so, is prema, where the happiness of prema surpasses even, half of the lifetime of Brahma, of being in samadhi, in meditation, in the liberated state, compared to the happiness of prema. So there are stages, and there are messages in Bhagavad Gita for different stages. So now, that's a little background, and exactly what your question is a little puzzling to me. How do you go beyond that aspiration? Is that what your question is?
Yeah. If we, yes, that's right. In the lower stages of our development of devotional,
There's not a problem desiring to be with Krishna. It's a good idea. But then there's, what do I want from it? If it's me-centered, it's different than Krishna-centered.
okay.
And so there's teaching in this very nice little book how to go beyond me-centeredness. And it becomes Krishna-only centeredness. Nothing else but. And then there's the experience of when, as that stage is approached, what happens. That's what we did this evening. So, follow the process given to us by Rupa Goswami, and you can get to that stage that's beyond aspiration for liberation. And it's, it's Rupa Goswami has articulated it, but it's not that Rupa Goswami invented it. For example, the Ishwara Puri example, that nice prayer that he offered. There is liberation, I'm acknowledging it. Those that want that liberation, let them achieve it. I'm fine with that. As for me, just chant. Lifetime after lifetime in Vrindavan, or in the Vrindavan consciousness, and be hearing these nice sounds of Krishna's name. That's good enough for me. So, when there's a taste, and then there's attachment, and then there's ecstasy, and then there's prema. So, you pass through those stages, and that's how you can go beyond the aspiration for liberation. Does that
Yes.
do it?
Thank you very much.
Amritananda, you have something?
So is Radharani always in Mahabhav, or she is also going through the other,
Is she always in Mahabhav, or is she what?
going through experiencing other Sneha, Pranaya?
Oh, I don't know. I can guess, but I don't know. You want to hear my guess? Everything's included in Radharani. So she can move from this to that, but the crowning glory of Radharani has its subsets. So it may move from this bhava to that bhava, but it always is Mahabhava. But I don't have a scriptural reference for that. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my question is coming more from a place of ignorance, actually. So you described in the prema bhav some things which cannot be experienced in the material body, correct? So that means no humans.
No, it means the material body becomes spiritualized.
Oh, okay.
That's what it means.
That's what I was confusing.
So the regulative part of material of embodied life goes on, but the experience of prema is not on the material body platform.
Okay.
It's on the spiritual platform. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My question is related to
A little further away because it's muffled.
today's afternoon slide related to description of bhava, Vyabhichari bhava, where you mentioned about 33 symptoms of bodily.
To hold a little further away because it's making bad feedback.
33 symptoms of bodily. And my question is,
Somewhere in between.
Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are a lot of great personalities exhibited ecstatic feelings.
Yes.
And at times when we read, we get a glimpse of or a trace of that bhava. It can be tears or a trembling hair standing, like it a glimpse or a glimpse or a trace. Is that, though it is not steady, can bhava?
The microphone was fading in and out. Did you get what he said?
Reading spiritual literature like Bhagavatam, you read about devotees who are going through various ecstatic symptoms.
Yes. Yes.
And that when you read it and you meditate on it, and sometimes you can have tears or you can have hairs rising in your body. Does that indicate that you're having this transitory power coming from this? That's right, Prabhu.
I have bad hearing. What to do? I don't know if that's the right label. If what you described and the scriptural description of transitory bhava are a one-to-one match. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. At least it's receiving from someone who has experienced, even it's just from the process of hearing, one who has experienced such ecstatic feelings, and one is vicariously experiencing an ecstatic feeling. Now, whether it's a transitory bhava or something else, it's like the simple language for me is you get warm by standing near a fire. They're taking on some qualities or characteristics like those who they're deeply meditating upon or hearing from or about.
Thanks, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, so a transitory motion, I don't know if that's a proper example. From your study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, transitory or no? Transitory bhava or no? No. Okay?
Thank you, Maharaj. I have a follow-up
That's a good answer. Very scriptural based answer. Okay, go ahead.
I have a follow-up question. If someone is not into Krishna consciousness,
Someone is not in Krishna consciousness.
and they are hearing a kirtan or Krishna's pastime or Gopi's separation,
I'm having a hard time hearing. This microphone system makes it difficult for me. Some people I can hear better than I can hear you for some reason. I don't know why it is.
sorry about that. Someone who is not into Krishna consciousness,
Yeah, okay, that part.
hearing Krishna's pastimes
Yes.
or kirtan,
Yeah.
they had some emotion. I mean, who is not into Krishna consciousness, they don't have any.
It's a similar question.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an awakening of the dormant consciousness of the soul. It's a manifestation of Krishna's mercy upon that soul. And then, wait a while and they get covered again. But it's mercy upon that soul through sound. And they feel something. They may cry. They may do many things. Okay?
Thanks, Maharaj.
Behind you.
From what I'm remembering, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur talks about it as bhava abhas. from what I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Bhava Abbas, like a shadow of Bhava.
Yeah.
And that sometimes devotees or persons who have like a emotional mood will cry even though Bhava hasn't presented itself in that person. And Srila Prabhupada's...
That's a more technical way of saying that they're receiving some mercy, because Abbas is also mercy. Awakening of some mercy. But Abbas, yes.
And Srila Prabhupada in Srimad Bhagavatam, is it 2... I can't remember the chapter. I think it's text 34, where the heart is still framed when you don't chant the holy name and tears don't come, and the heart is still framed. You know the verse I'm talking about?
Yes, I know the verse.
He lists, he says in the purport, that Bhava can be seen by these A, B, C, D symptoms.
Yeah.
So devotees can go back and look at the purport, and what Srila Prabhupada says is steady Bhava.
You have a homework assignment. Do you understand the homework assignment? Find the verse that he's referring to and then read the purport.
Sure, Maharaj.
Okay?
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Huh? Yeah. It's a good verse.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for taking us through this journey of Madhurya Kadambini. It was very wonderful. Maharaj, just little bit delving into the discussion earlier based on the question of Balnitai Prabhu, on where he was mentioning the Raga Anuga as on devotees of Vrindavan versus outside of Vrindavan, and what's the difference. So I just wanted to use this particular verse from Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and get a clarification from you if this is the right understanding or not. But so this is the 288th verse of the second chapter, Sadhana Bhakti, in the Eastern Ocean.
288 is the number?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
And the last line it says is Yad Isha Jnana Shunyatvad Esham Rage Pradhanata. So what it says is that the differentiating character of Raga Bhakti from Vaidhi Bhakti is Isha Jnana Shunyata, means complete non-knowledge or no knowledge, Shunyata, of Lord's godliness or his Ishatva, of his being God. So that's what I'm sort of the understanding, and that differentiates the Vrajvasis from outside, that they don't have that understanding that Krishna is God. And whereas others, whether it is Lakshmi Narayana or Madhvacharyas, Murali Krishna, or they would have that understanding that of at least the predominance of his Aishwarya Jnana, of his greatness.
I don't see how that answers his question. Could you help me understand how that answers his question? His question was, those that are outside of Vrindavan worship, are they also in a spontaneous mood? And if so, how is it different? That was your question, yes?
So how is it different is what I want to check with you, that's what's coming to me about what's different.
That's certainly a distinction, but there's other distinctions.
Sure.
The distinction that I mentioned is another distinction.
Sure.
They don't have a sense of being followers of the residents of Vrindavan, the eternal associates of Krishna in Vrindavan. but they can have a spontaneous mood of love.
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, yes, certainly.
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Way in the back. Anyone way in the back? We have balcony seats back there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So, like Prabhu